The King's Avatar, Chapter 1356 Void Send-Off, Audio Source, WuShoWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1356, Void Send-Off. Translator, Gnome Yummy. Editor, Gnome Yummy. The Void fans in the audience booed Wei Chen for a very long time. But when they looked at the screen displaying the current score, they felt another wave of despondence. 1-2, they'd already lost 2 points. Void was already far away from the top 8, and after losing these 2 points, their future was becoming increasingly bleak. Next was the group arena. Happy sent Tang Ru, Steam Bun, and Fang Rui, while Void sent Zhe Jiaolan, Yang Hao Xuan, and Wu Yus. There were still fans who refused to give up now, and they persevered in cheering Void on. But Tang Ru's performance when she came on was extraordinarily strong, nearly a 1v2. After Steamed Bun came on, he used 17% of his health to take care of Void's second player, Yang Hao Xuan, who'd already been beaten bloody by Tang Ru. Wu Yus came out, facing a near 1v2 situation. The crowd was quiet. They couldn't bear to cheer. It looked like Void's season was ending here just like this. There was no need to increase the pressure on any one person at this time. A season's failure wasn't any one person's fault. Even the audience members were pessimistic, but Wu Yus hadn't given up. He was a pro player, someone who understood the difficulty of matches better than ordinary people did. But at this time, even more so than the audience, he anticipated a miracle. He believed he could create a miracle. Wu Yus came on stage, and Carved Ghost cleanly took care of Steamed Bun invasion. Fang Rui came on stage, facing a Carved Ghost at half health. The map was another street map that Void was used to. For the dirty playing Fang Rui, he could also take to this map like a fish to water. "This time, I won't lose to you again," Fang Rui said after entering the match. During the previous Happy vs. Void, Fang Rui had indeed lost to Wu Yus, but back then he had already fought one person earlier. For the group arena, the fact that he had still managed to knock away half of Carved Ghost's health was already considered a success. And this time, his Boundless Sea had the health lead, and his Chi Master style had undergone a season's worth of testing and was now solidified. "Give it a try." Wu Yus generally wasn't inclined to chat, but he actually said this tough sentence in the chat. He knew Fang Rui's strength, especially since they were from the same season. Compared to everyone else, he had gotten to know Fang Rui's dirty Chi Master style earlier than everyone else. Last time after fighting Happy, Fang Rui had called him to spar for many matches. In the end, it was unclear who had gotten more wins, but Wu Yus knew for sure Fang Rui's new unique playstyle was definitely viable. The reality confirmed this point. Fang Rui indeed walked a new path with his Chi Master, even though traditional Chi Master players all looked down upon his style. But with Zhao Yang's retirement, there was no longer one leading Chi Master. This season's All-Stars, there had been no Chi Master, but what about next year? Next year, given Happy's strong results and Fang Rui's performance, this guy could actually enter the All-Stars with the identity of a Chi Master. That would really show everyone who looked down upon this dirty Chi Master style. "You look down upon my playstyle, but I am the #1 Chi Master." When he thought about this, Wu Yus felt that it was really quite interesting, and he very much wanted to see this happen. However, even so, he did not want to become Fang Rui's stepping stone. For the sake of Void's victory, he would not hesitate to block Fang Rui's way. "I will not lose. Void's season is not yet over." With a roar, with the Phantom God's power flashing around him, Wu Yus fought even more fiercely than he had last round. He won. In the instant that the results came out, even the live audience couldn't believe their eyes. Wu Yus's Carved Ghost remained standing at the very end, with 4% health remaining. Fang Rui left this final message in the chat. Dirty players like him could really be helpless against an opponent like this. This kind of guy, bold and decisive, wouldn't play those psychological games with you dirty players. He would simply use his sword light to slash through everything. Void won the group arena. Those Void fans who had already given up suddenly all awakened once more. The crowd exploded like a volcano that had slept dormant for many years, releasing all of their enthusiasm in one instant, powerful enough to burn through everything. When Happy's 3 players returned to their player area, they could only shout to communicate with each other. The noise of the stadium was simply too loud. 3-2, now Void was in the lead. If they won the team round, a final result of 8-2, maybe there was still hope. Wu Yu's strong performance didn't just win 2 points, it ignited everyone's hopes for Void. But it ends here. Wu Yu sighed as he rotated his camera view, seeing his fallen comrades around him. Blue Exorcist, Soul Defender, Ghost Lantern, Translucent. It's just the 2 of us left. Wu Yu was never one for melancholy, but this time, their season, Void's season, was ending here. Yeah, said Li Zan. Standing behind Carved Ghost back-to-back was his Crying Devil. Void's Ghost duo. On Void's side, only these 2 remained. Even though they were an experienced partnership, expecting them to pull off a 2v5 was simply too much. Happy had already surrounded them completely, but they weren't rushing to attack. Crying Devil didn't have much mana left, so he couldn't maintain the defensive ghost boundaries. They just had to wait until the ghost boundaries ran out, and then they could calmly attack them. Last one, Li Zan said. Crying Devil's blade surged with the power of the Phantom God as he casted a final ghost boundary. Boom. But at this moment, Dancing Rain opened fire. Li Zan was forced to interrupt the cast as he moved to dodge. Tisk, our last one's gone too, Li Zan said. Crying Devil's mana was used up for good. So it ends like this. Yeah, it's over. The ghost boundaries faded, leaving openings, and Happy's characters charged forward. Long range, short range, they all began their attacks, and Void's ghost duo finally fell upon the ground they had so tightly defended with their ghost boundaries for so long. In the end, Happy won their round 33 match with a score of 7-3. Void, having only achieved 3 points, could consider themselves finished for the season. Even if their competitors had abysmal performances in the upcoming rounds, with only 5 rounds left to close such a large point gap, there was no point in imaging what was theoretically possible. Only those who were especially stubborn and refusing to give up would still hope for that extremely unlikely possibility. Hope that those competitors wouldn't earn a single point in the next rounds and that Void would surpass them. But would that happen? The moment that the Void vs Happy match ended, there were already people frantically checking for news from the other matches this round. 100 Blossoms, 9-1, a huge home victory against Misty Rain. The gap between them and Void was pulled from 23 to 29 points. 301, a 10-0 perfect victory against Miracle, which pulled their gap with Void from 28 to 35 points. There was still one match in progress. It was the match that had received the most attention this round, Thunderclap against Wind Howl. After Thunderclap lagged behind in the individual matches, 1-4, the 2 teams were now engaged in a fierce team battle. Wind Howl's recent team performance was quite fierce. Their strategy of tearing apart and playing one-on-one had shaken a number of strong teams. Maybe they would win again in this match. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. If they 9-1-1, Thunderclap would have only won 1 point, and maybe they would just continue to lose, and Void would win, and eventually surpass them. The stubborn Void fans who refused to despair carried these sort of dreams as they studied the details of this match. But in the end, even they had to let go of their last strands of hope. Thunderclap had taken teamwork to the peak. Individually, their players weren't all that strong, but they were all team players. They understood strategy well and their cooperative awareness was strong. Once they were together, their strength didn't lose to that of any team. And Wind Howl, their new playstyle, was the antithesis of Thunderclap's. Their cooperation was to not cooperate. Their method was to turn the team battle into individual battles. By this point, they had already chopped apart many strong teams, but they finally met their match in Thunderclap. The most cooperative, cohesive team in the entire alliance wouldn't be broken apart easily. Wind Howl messed up, and with their playstyle, one mess up meant defeat. They had played their best to last this long, but unfortunately for them, Thunderclap still won in the end. 6-4. With the conclusion of this battle, the results of all the teams who were currently fighting for a spot in the playoffs were known. Void was out for good, but 100 Blossoms had caught up once again. They were tied with Wind Howl in terms of points, 208, but because they lost to Wind Howl in terms of their head-to-head point scores, they were in 9th place for now. All of the current rankings were only temporary. The points differences between the teams was worth more attention. Smaller differences could be flipped in the course of one round. After the end of this round, the 5th place team Happy had 219 points, while the 8th and 9th place Wind Howl and 100 Blossoms had 208 points. This was a difference of only 11 points from 5th to 9th. Happy was directly going against 3 of these direct competitors in upcoming battles, so this current 11-point lead really wasn't much. This round was only one hurdle they'd had to make it through. Void had dropped out, but no team had made it to safety. The upcoming round 34 was, for a Happy, a good chance to grab points. Their opponent was Lightly, a weaker team that had no more prospects for this season. Chen Guo wanted to directly add these 10 points to Happy's total. But Happy's roster for this round once again gave Chen Guo something to worry about. "You're not going in the team competition?" Chen Guo looked at Yishu in shock. In the team rounds roster, Yishu and Lord Grimm's names were absent. "Yes. For these upcoming rounds, I will try to rest as much as possible," said Yishu. Chen Guo hesitated. She had worried time and time again about Yishu's professional life expectancy. She had worried about whether he was working himself too hard. From in-game to the Pro League, from management to strategy, from train to equipment, Yishu was involved in it all. Was he really not tired? Chen Guo had had these doubts before. And now, Yishu, using this method, was telling her clearly, he too was tired. He too need to rest. End chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1357 Mistake. Audio source, Wuxia-World-Audiobook.com. Chapter 1357, Mistake. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Yishu could tire too. Perhaps sometimes, perseverance would be enough to overcome fatigue, but Chen Guo knew that Yishu did not lack perseverance. He need to rest for the same reason that he insisted Wei Chen and Luoji play matches. He need to prepare for the playoffs as well. He need 100% of his energy to face the playoffs. And now, even though they were stuck in the struggle for top 8, Happy did have the most points out of all their direct competitors. Chen Guo tried to think optimistically, and when they trained for the team round this week, they practiced without Yishu and Lord Grimm. Soon, May 8th arrived, and round 34 began. Happy and the other teams vying for the playoffs underwent their desperate struggle, while the powerhouses at the top were already preparing for the playoffs. Team Blue Rain was rotating their team battle roster non-stop. Team Tiny Herb was working hard at strategies that didn't rely too much on Wang Gxe. Team Tyranny's 3 old generals ended rotation after that one round where they all appeared. Now, they all played both the individual and team battles. And this round, Tyranny played a home game against Heavenly Swords. There weren't many interactions between these two teams. Tyranny's fans cheered for their own team, just like normal. But when the names for the first individual battle were announced, the entire stadium froze. Tyranny, Zhang Jiale. Heavenly Swords, Sun Zheping. Team 100 Blossoms, Blood and Blossoms, one of the most quintessential partnerships of the Alliance. These former partners suddenly met in this match. reunited at last, but in a confrontation that had never occurred before. Neither Tyranny nor Heavenly Swords would care about this one point very much, but the significance these two carried. Tyranny's home fans and a Heavenly Swords visiting fans wouldn't have the same deep ties to these two that Hundred Blossoms fans would have. But who hadn't heard of the madness that these two brought back in the day? Blood and Blossoms had made its lasting mark in Glory's history. Even though they ultimately hadn't managed to win the championship, but in Competition, heroes weren't determined solely by success or failure. That former prosperity had ended on that summer 5 long years ago. Since then, the two had never reunited on the battlefield, and there was no more Blood and Blossoms, only victory and defeat. But the outcome of this one battle truly didn't matter too much, and when the audience saw this pair of opponents, they didn't care too much who won or lost. They were more curious about what this duo, who had left behind countless regrets, would say to each other when they had this sort of meeting on the battlefield. And so, no one watched the match. Everyone was staring at the chat displayed on the large screen. Nothing. Nothing at all. The two had no conversation, no exchange. The characters simply charged forward and met at the center of the map. Flowers blossomed, concealing dazzling Hundred Blossoms. But the Berserker Slashers were no longer creating a scene of blood, and even if they were, it would be the blood of dazzling Hundred Blossoms. Charge! Sun Zheping's Berserker Another Summer of Sleep once again charged forward. Would anyone understand Zhang Jialei's playstyle than he? This playstyle relied on the light and shadows created by skills, and those on the same team weren't immune to these effects. It could impede teammates just as easily as opponents. Sun Zheping, as the partner who had once stood the closest to him amidst this light and shadow, of course understood how to maintain his bearings and search for targets to attack. But this time, he was searching for the owner of this expanse of light and shadow. Wild Blood Strike. The blood-red silhouette of the greatsword instantly carved through the dazzle, and Another Summer of Sleep advanced forward as though there were nothing in his way. Oh! The whole stadium made noises of understanding. From Sun Zheping's camera view, they could see how the light and shadow didn't give him any confusion at all. His field of vision was just as clear as always. As expected. Everyone thought. As expected of former partners. They understood each other too well. But just in this moment, when Another Summer of Sleep continued to advance, taking one step closer to dazzling Hundred Blossoms, the light and shadow suddenly closed in, enveloping Another Summer of Sleep in their midst. Is that so? Sun Zheping rotated his camera view, looking around him in a circle. This time, he couldn't very much see through it. So the Hundred Blossoms playstyle had also changed a lot. These years, he'd purposely not paid much attention to it, and now, he was truly beginning to feel that he couldn't keep up. But, this shouldn't be enough to cause him any difficulty, right? He would never forget the logic of this playstyle. It wasn't too late to learn now. Another Summer of Sleep looked left and right, as though searching for directions. The audience watched silently, and Zhang Jialei, controlling the blossoming display, gradually revealed a shocked expression. This was no longer the Hundred Blossoms style he had used during his time with Sun Zheping. After all, after so many years, the levels, equipment, and skills had all changed so much. But, just over the course of this battle, Sun Zheping's Another Summer of Sleep caught up. Slowly, step by step, he had already entered the rhythm of the new Hundred Blossoms style. Sun Zheping, knowing the Hundred Blossoms style so thoroughly, only need the span of one match. As expected of old partners. Just like this, Zhang Jialei watched as Another Summer of Sleep finally charged in front of his dazzling Hundred Blossoms. The great sword came down without a moment of hesitation. Dazzling 100 Blossoms leapt aside and counter-attacked. Another Summer of Sleep fell. Charging through the cover of the 100 Blossoms, style was already his limit. Good luck. Quote. When he fell, Sun Zheping simply said this. Yeah, Zhang Jiale answered. The only words exchanged in the whole battle. At the same time, Yi Shu helped Happy win a first point in the individual competition. Although he was not playing in the team competition this time, he was still first in the individual competition as always. And then Luoji and Wei Chen were up. This time, Luoji won, but Wei Chen made a mistake and lost the point. Winning and losing matches was ordinary thing, but Luoji and Wei Chen were in a very delicate position. If they lost points, there would always be people jumping forward to question Happy's plan, as though if it weren't for the two of them, if other people fought instead, Happy would be guaranteed to win points. But nothing was ever guaranteed on a battlefield. And so even though Wei Chen lost a point, they were open and forgiving. Then, in the group arena, Happy won a clean victory, entering the team round with a score of 4-1. When the team competition lineup came out, without Yi Shu's name, the crowd burst into whispers, beginning to let the main force rest. The team was really confident. Everyone thought this way, but no one was too worried, as Lightly wasn't a very strong team and didn't have much fighting spirit. But in the end, in their home game, Happy lost the team competition. 4-6. The digital scoreboard recorded this all. In this crucial time before the playoffs, Happy lost a team competition. The reason? Yi Shu hadn't played. No matter what, this point could not be avoided. Core players were simply like this. Even if they weren't on stage, they had to carry the responsibility of their team's mistakes. You weren't on stage. This was your biggest mistake. Happy paid the price for their arrogance. This was how multiple media reported it, especially those who liked to hate on Happy. They liked this angle. After the match, all was quiet in the prep room. Everyone could see Yi Shu's hard work. No matter what, none of Happy's members would object to Yi Shu's choice to rest, even during this crucial time where every point mattered. WuxaWorldAudio.com. They were all upset, all blaming themselves, that as soon as Yi Shu was gone, they lost points. No one said anything. In the prep room, everyone silently watched the television, which was currently broadcasting the match between Samsara and 301. To face Samsara during this crucial point-turning period, 301 seemed fairly unlucky. But a number of people felt that perhaps 301 was lucky. Because no team's position was more stable than Samsara's right now. After 33 rounds, they had 282 points, over 42 points above the current second place. Samsara didn't need any more points in the regular season. They could casually let their main players rest, train rookies, practice strategies. They faced no pressure. Perhaps these conditions would give their opponents a precious opportunity. Perhaps a match against Samsara would actually be easier to fight. 301 won 2 battles in the individual competition. Samsara had sent up their rookies, and everyone believed their hypothesis was correct. Then, in the group arena, Samsara sent up their strongest lineup as always, and won. For the team round, they also used their strongest lineup this season. At that moment, although the match had yet to end, 301's loss was set. Even with 2 championships under their belt, Samsara was still hungry for more. They didn't relax, they didn't let their team enter a trash or a performative period. They still faced battles with all they had. They continued to strive for victory above all else. They didn't want to slack off while still sprinting forward. Let the main players rest. They might not even need it. Samsara's players were all in their prime. For them, one match a week was no great burden. Just like that, Samsara still won in the end, 8-2. Samsara did not give 301 a so-called break. After 34 rounds, Samsara had 290 points, and by now, Blue Rain's match against Parade had ended, with Blue Rain winning 9-1. But even so, this only shrunk the difference with Samsara from 42 to 41 points. With 4 rounds remaining, Samsara led second place by 41 points. The moment that Samsara won the match, their home stadium burst into cheers and applause louder than any other during this season. Samsara had earned first place in the regular season, 4 rounds early. Even though there was no trophy associated with this, this was still a result to be proud of. It seemed that Samsara's home stadium had anticipated this possibility, and so they'd prepared a small celebration ceremony beforehand. Of course, it was just a small ceremony. After all, the season still hadn't ended, and having a large celebration now would be inconsiderate to the other teams. Samsara, 4 rounds early, celebrated a beautiful end to their regular season. Happy, meanwhile, because of their failure this round, continued to struggle in the mud. This round, their fellow competitors' results: Wind Howl defeated Royal Style 8-2, Thunderclap defeated Misty Rain 9-1, 100 Blossoms defeated Void 9-1. And so Thunderclap, with 226 points, surpassed Happy by 3 points, charging into 5th place and pushing Happy down to 6th. 100 Blossoms beat Wind Howl by 1 point, rising to 7th. Wind Howl and 301 were once again tied with points, and based on their head-to-head score, Wind Howl was 8th, and 301 was pushed to 9th. The situation became more of a deadlock. Happy was only 7 points away from 9th place. And in round 35, Happy was playing their away game against a strong opponent, the team that had just surpassed them by 3 points, Thunderclap. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1358. Haydn Zubin. Audio source: WurshaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1358. Haydn Zubin. Translator: Nomyami. Editor: Nomyami. In round 35, Thunderclap would be playing Happy in their home game. These two teams would be fighting for the number 5 spot between themselves, so being direct competitors was not key. What was more important were the teams hot on their tails. The loser of this round might fall several spots and be a step closer to the danger zone. For this round, of the 3 teams in pursuit, Wind Howl would play Heavenly Swords in an away match. 100 Blossoms would play Royal Style in an away match, and 301 again faced a powerhouse as they did last round. They would be playing against Tiny Herb. 301 was perched precariously on the edge of the playoff zone. They were currently out of the standings for the playoffs, and the schedule gave them an even larger obstacle. After this round, they had to face Blue Rain and finally Happy. The television broadcast for round 35 faced yet another dilemma: should they show Thunderclap vs Happy, or 301 vs Tiny Herb? Finally, the broadcasting team decided on 301 vs Tiny Herb. Even though Thunderclap vs Happy was a key match, the two teams had already met and was broadcast once in round 16. Also, Happy still had plenty of key matches coming. Both their round 37 clash against Wind Howl and round 38 against 301 were candidates for broadcast. The broadcasters could only choose one match, but the media focused equally on both. 301 became the primary team to stir things up following the winter transfer window and into the second half of the season. If it weren't for their sudden surge up the leaderboard, the top 8 would have been pretty much set in stone, after seeing the performances of teams just out of reach such as Void or Misty Rain. Since 301 could stir things up, they became well received by the many enthusiastic Glory fans. Because of this, they managed to attract many otherwise neutral fans. Their current style that used life-risking strike liberally was very interesting to watch. The Glory Alliance's Round 35 commenced on May 15. 301 welcomed Tiny Herb to their home stadium. 301's stadium is jam-packed today, Pan Lin exclaimed in the broadcast. Well, of course, for 301 to have reached this stage, their fans should also come out and do their best to support their team, Li Yibo said. No one would have expected 301 to create such a hectic scene before us at the start of this season. Actually no, even after the halfway mark of the season, no one expected it, Pan Lin said. Who would have guessed that 301 would go to Europe and come back with an expert suitable for their night character? Li Yibo replied with a smile. If 301 manages to slaughter their way into the playoffs, I reckon their winter transfer will go down as one of the most brilliant moves in Glory history. Pan Lin said. I think the other teams would also broaden their horizons for next year's summer transfer window. Glory's player exchange market might gradually globalize from here on out, Li Yibo said. But the rules and formats being different around the world is a showstopper. Pan Lin exclaimed. The formats are indeed different, but not vastly so. In the end, the different game versions are the biggest barriers to establishing a conversation. But, the Glory Game Company has taken strong steps towards unifying game versions over the past 2 years. The large-scale Level 75 patch last season has finally mostly synchronized the game on a global scale, Li Yibo said. The rumor going around right now is that the game company is planning for AEAD. Their sole intention of leaving the Level 70 patch for so long was to synchronize the game globally. The game company had long been scheming for players from across the world to be able to play together, Pan Lin said. I don't think this is a complete rumor. Li Yibo nodded. The game company's actions must indeed be taking this into account. Looks like Glory's competitive scene will have an even richer future. Having said all that, let's first focus on how our own Glory League's current season will play out. The first round of the individual competition is starting soon. The big screen hasn't shown the players yet, but we can already see the players on both sides rising from their respective benches. It looks like they are getting ready to get on stage. On 301's side, we've got a game-changer for 301's season, the former English Glory League pro, Bai Shu. How about Tiny Herb's side? It's Zhu Bin. It seems the first player to go up for Tiny Herb is Zhu Bin. Oh my, what a coincidence. Pan Lin became more animated. Zhu Bin happened to be a former player of 301. He had been a previous owner of the night character, Tide. When Bai Shu arrived, he was given the Night Tide, whom 301 was previously unable to find a replacement for when Zhu Bin left. Two players who controlled Tide, old and new, who would come out on top. This really was an engaging match to watch. The audience didn't seem to have noticed the little movements at the player benches. However, the clamoring immediately grew in the stadium when the big screen confirmed that it would be Bai Shu playing against Zhu Bin. Zhu Bin was traded for Tiny Herb's all-star grappler Li Yihui. However, after Li Yihui's arrival at 301, the title of all-star grappler was very quickly snatched away by Samsara's Lu Boyuan. Li Yihui didn't seem to have as much value to 301 as Zhu Bin used to. When 301 failed to reach the playoffs last season, the exchange was viewed as a loss in the eyes of the fans. The character Tide was benched because no player was found for him. It really was incomprehensible for them. But now, 301 has acquired Baishu. Even though they were perched on the edge of the playoff zone, Baishu only became a member of 301 in the second half of their journey this season. Compared to the first half, Baishu had really improved their performance by leaps and bounds. The fans could not support Baishu. Additionally, this successor has accelerated the weakening of their reminiscent feelings towards Zubin. In the minds of 301's fans, the so-called Grind King Zubin would always be tangled up with an opponent, trying to wear them down slowly. Baishu was not like this. His individual fights were straightforward and he would balance attacking and defending in team fights. He was good at both providing protection and sudden aggression. This Knight player from the European Alliance had a different playstyle to those who were brought up in the Chinese pro circle. He almost seemed to be more in touch with the Knight character. The so-called Knight spirit was not just a class awakening skill for him. His awareness, his playstyle, his habits, they all seemed to carry the true spirit of a Knight. Under his control, the class seemed to symbolize some kind of glory. This was a difference in playstyle influenced by a difference in culture. There have already been articles focused on Baishu that tried to explain how his Knight style is different from those who grew up in the Chinese glory circle from a cultural perspective. Then, was this visitor from afar the real deal, or was the Knight of this land the better warrior? No one would have guessed that the Baishu's first match with Tiny Herb as a member of 301 would lead to the confrontation between these two top Knight players. Enter the stage. Load the characters. Baishu's chosen map, Traring Field, was reasonably simple. It was an unbiased, symmetric, and small map. The two opponents could see each other as soon as the match begun. Baishu did not hesitate to have Tide move forward. Zubin seemed to hesitate for a moment before he controlled Angelica to go forth and meet his opponent. The two knights faced each other and walked faster and faster, eventually breaking into a sprint. Both characters raised their swords and shields into place, and locked their gaze on their opponent's every move, but neither launched an attack. 10 units away. 8 units, 6 units, 4 units. When there was just one step left before they could wipe each other's faces with their shields. WuxaWorldAudio.com. Charge. Zubin's Angelica acted first and unexpectedly unleashed the Knight's charge skill at 4 units distance. Angelica's left hand gripped his shield, and the sword in his right was thrust forth. The 4 units gap vanished in an instant. Dong. A resounding gong instantly rang out. Baishu actually managed to accurately block Angelica's sudden charge. Angelica's charge ended up colliding with Tide's shield. Silver of Life. This is the silver shield held by Tide. Zubin has used it for 3 entire years and knew its attributes like the back of his hand. Even though it was raised to level 75 by 301 since, and he didn't know if there were any adjustments. Zubin was confident that the health regeneration attribute on Silver of Life would not be abandoned by 301. Not counting Silver of Life, if Tide's other equipment hasn't changed too much, they all held health regeneration attribute. Fighting Tide in a long match would be very unfavorable. This was Zubin's judgment. But he was called the Grind King, famous for slowing the pace down. And Tide's equipment was painstakingly created to suit this playstyle. A character specialized in drawn-out battles and a Grind King who slowed the pace of battle down. There wasn't a better combination of player and character. But now, Tide is Zubin's enemy. He found himself having to overcome his previously most valued attribute. In addition, he had to change his playstyle. If the Grind King could not grind, then what would he do? After Angelica's charge was blocked, he immediately began to attack. A ferociously fast and violent attack. The whole stadium was stunned. They were familiar with Zubin. That guy up on stage initiating attacks with an unmatched pace and ferocity. Was that really Zubin? Did he change that much after going to Tiny Herb? No one has seen otherwise so far. In the live broadcast, Pan Lin also froze. He stared for a full 3 seconds before saying, "Zubin is proactively attacking." As soon as he spoke, he felt he said something super awkward. Zubin proactively attacking. This is a sentence with a syntax or semantic error, right? The individual words didn't string together properly to form a sentence, right? Looks like Zubin is pretty clear on Tide's attributes. He knows that grinding away at Tide would only be walking away from victory. So he had to force himself to change his style. Li Yibo said, "This change, isn't it a bit too much?" Pan Lin exclaimed, "It doesn't suit him. His play looks uncomfortable. Bai Shu is defending well. Zubin's attack doesn't pose much of a threat." Li Yibo said, "Then this match." Li Yibo stayed silent. As it was, he wouldn't be as bold as to predict the outcome. But once again he regretted not doing so. The match played out exactly as he had analyzed. Zubin really wasn't suited for this playstyle, and the playstyle he was comfortable with could not deal with Tide. Finally, he was miserably dealt with by Bai Shu. Updated by BOXNOVEL. How do I say this? Bai Shu really did slow down his pace for this match. He was also well aware of the implication of Tide's attributes and took advantage of it. This game, it feels like 301 Zubin defeated Tiny Herb Zubin, Li Yibo said. Nomyami, the chapter numbers have been finally fixed. Hooray! End chapter.